Hello everyone, good evening. Today's series is going to be on our other institutes that we have, which is IGIDR, MSc, Gokhale, IIFT and CBS. Now, why do I club these institutes together? There is a reason behind it. See, these institutes will not have the same pattern, of course. The paper style is different. But these institutes would ask you questions which are not at the same level as would be an ISI paper or as would be an IIT paper, right? Now, earlier, well before BSc came into CUET, I used to divide this entire thing in 4 parts. BSc, one separate zone, one separate kind of paper. ISI, very different. And within ISI, PEB, super difficult and different. The next one is IIT, which has just recently came in, and here I also have GATE. By the way, IIT and GATE in themselves are very different. The paper level of IIT is extremely difficult, but the paper level of GATE would be easy, but you have to do general aptitude in that also, practice that. You have to practice English also in that. You have to practice logic also in that. So you have multiple other things in GATE which IIT is not requiring you to do. And the last level is where I combine all these together. And the 5th one, of course, is CUET. So we can go ahead and divide our entire exam, whatever exams we have to give in MA Economics, into these 5 different categories. But of course, now I no more have DSC, so I can just remove this. So 4 different categories is what we can divide it into. Okay. So this series that I have defined are accordingly. One focuses only on these IIT kind of questions, one only on ISI kind of questions. IIT, some days I will take core IIT and some days I will take GATE questions. Then the 3rd one focuses on all of this and the 4th one focuses on CUET. Within IGIDR, by the way, you will also be asked to do basic maths question, right? And when I talk about this basic maths, this is class 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th maths, right? You already know I am doing a series with you where I am trying to cover class 11th maths or during Mondays. Why? Because this is going to be very useful for your IGIDR basic maths part. So you may see some, so last year we did some series where we did questions on concurrent triangles, circles, line segments, because all of that does come in an IGIDR paper. And this IGIDR paper, this, once you clear this, but IGIDR offers, and MSc also and Gokhale also, they offer you placement at par with DSC, with ISI, with IIT, at par. I know multiple of my students, I will show you some testimonials of my students. I know multiple of my students who are sitting currently at, their campus placement, they're sitting at 15 lakhs per annum, at 17 lakhs per annum. They are from these institutes. So don't take them lightly. They may ask you comparatively simpler questions. A lot of times, in this entire journey of preparing difficult questions, you give up on the easier ones. You don't do those. And they are the one that will trick you in exam. At the end, you might feel confused in those questions. So these series are equally important. You may feel that these are easy questions, but I want you to revise those with me. Okay, let us start. So the first question of the day. Okay, beta. So these are all questions. I forgot to mention the topic here. These are related to consumer theory, right? So when total utility increases at a diminishing rate, what will be the condition of marginal utility? Go ahead, try to answer them, and I will look into the chat window to see that you are able to answer this question. So the question is, when total utility increases at a diminishing rate, what is going to be what is going to be the condition for marginal utility? Okay, so let's see. So this is how I can make my total utility diagram, and this is how I can make my marginal utility diagram, right? Here total utility is increasing, but it is increasing at a decreasing rate, right? Decreasing rate. So what is happening to marginal utility? It is decreasing. Another way to see this mathematically, the slope of total utility is marginal utility. So if it is increasing, that's fine, but it is increasing at a diminishing rate, na? So the slope should be diminishing. So the correct answer to this question, as all of you would have guessed, is C. When total utility increases at a diminishing rate, marginal utility diminishes. But what is this called? This is called the law of diminishing marginal utility, right? Okay, come to the next question. Which of the following assumptions of the indifference curve analysis? So which of these are the assumptions of the indifference curve analysis? Try to do this. Okay, you're saying C, someone is saying D. See, here is what happens. Increasing MRS, no, that's not the assumption. We want MRS to diminish. Decreasing MRS. Cardinal numbers, no. We always talk about indifference curve in terms of ordinality, in terms of ranking. So no, we want ordinality. So the correct answer is monotonic preferences. A lot of times, the moment you see all of those, I don't know why, it's a click that people will just mark all of these. That's not correct in this case. So the right answer is monotonic consumer preferences. Come to the next question. So let's read this down. So it says monotonic consumer preferences, which means that consumer will always prefer more to less. Can you tell me an example of a utility function which does not follow monotonic preferences? Which utility function doesn't follow monotonic preferences? One such example can be the example of bad goods, right? So if my utility function is like this beta, minus x square minus y square. So both x and y are bad goods for me. They are giving me negative utility. Any number of x and y you put, you will get negative utility. You will always prefer that your x and y should be 0, 0 over any positive number of x and y. So here monotonic preference is not being followed. You want less of the good instead of more of the good, right? Okay, come to the next question. Here is where students get tricked. You don't remember who coined which concept. So I want you to think and answer this to me. Who has coined the concept of cardinal utility? Who gave the term cardinal utility? Go ahead and try to answer this. Okay. So I'm waiting for the right answer. Who has coined the term concept of cardinal utility? Okay, you're saying Hicks. Let's see. So, the term cardinal utility was first given by Marshall Remember, I am not asking who derived indifference curve, who derived ordinal concept. No. Cardinality. So remember that cardinal utility was given by Marshall. He was the first person who talked about cardinality, who talked about utils, who said ki utility ko we can measure in 4 utils, 10 utils, 20 utils. So the concept of cardinality, from today you should write this down somewhere, that Marshall is the one who gave the concept of cardinality, right? In fact, all these marginal utilities that you measure, remember you make these tables now, where you say that, okay, I consume the first unit, total utility 10, 2 units, total utility 18, 3, total utility 24. All these numbers, these tables, they were first given by Marshall. Okay, come to the fourth question, a pretty easy question. What does the budget line indicate? And here I want to go ahead and I want to ask you one more question. You answer this. Okay, what does the budget line indicate? Does it indicate the budget line? No. Does it indicate the price ratio? In a way, yes. That's the slope of the budget line. Does it give me the isocost line? No. So the budget line just tells me the rate at which I will be substituting one good for another, right? It is the market rate at which you substitute one good for another. That is what the budget line tells you. So when such question comes in exam, it may seem simpler, but tell me something. Suppose instead of none of the above, I would have gone ahead and I would have given you income of the consumer. Income of the consumer. Now, you may of course think that budget also represents the income. The intercepts that you get on the budget line, this M by Px and this M by Py, of course this represents the income of the consumer also. But still remember, what's the sole purpose of budget line? It is to tell me the rate at which market substitutes one good for another, right? So whenever given a choice between income and price ratio, I would still like to go with price ratio. Both of them are correct, mind you. But if I have to select one option, I would like to go with Px by Py. I would like to go ahead and tell that it represents the ratio at which market substitutes one good for another. Okay. So let us go ahead and take the next question, and this is the question. It says, in which kind of utility analysis utility can be measured in the definite numbers, which means I can measure it in terms of number. Ordinal concept, cardinal concept, both, none of these. Remember the meaning of each term. Ordinal, apne aap mein, if you go to statistics and you search, in which there are different ways of going ahead and calculating numbers, ordinality, beta, it means ranking. So ordinal concept is telling me I don't care about how much utility you give me. Whether A gives you utility of 10,000 and B gives you utility of 0, or A gives you utility of 9 and B gives you utility of 8.99999. Both of these are equivalent situations for me, that A is preferred to B, that utility of A is more than utility from B. It does not matter to me what numbers are. It only matters what the ranking is. That is what the ordinality says. So all of you are correct when you are saying that it should be the cardinal utility concept. Okay. Come to the next question. And the question is this. Which of the following is the nature of utility? Subjective, psychological, relative, or all of the above? So I'm giving you a time and go ahead and tell me the answer to this question. What do you think should be the nature of utility? And when I say nature of utility, you need to tell me the features. Let's go ahead and see. Subjective concept, yes, definitely. It differs from one person to another. Na? How I define my satisfaction from studying would be very different of how you define your satisfaction. So subjective to definitely hai. It is not objective in nature. Is it psychological? Yes. It depends on the psychology of the human being. Is it a relative concept? Yes. When I compare two things, say when I compare a Maruti 800 with say a Ford EcoSport, what am I comparing? I am comparing how much utility they give me in relative terms. I cannot define in terms of number. I can only say one gives me more utility than the other. So therefore, all of these options are the correct options. So answer is D. Okay, the next question is this, and okay, we have gone ahead and we have given the answer, but still try and do this. Why is an indifference curve convex to the origin? And let me tell you here a very important point. Many students, I don't know why, would have marked B. It's an easy question, but many would have done it wrong. Many would have marked law of diminishing marginal utility. It is absolutely wrong. No. Law of diminishing marginal utility only says that my marginal utility diminishes. It does not say anything about the slope of the indifference curve. The slope of the indifference curve is MRS. So, if this is convex, it must be associated with the slope of my indifference curve. And that is diminishing MRS. So, please don't go ahead and please don't say that this is convex because of law of DMU. No. But why is MRS diminishing? That is due to the law of DMU. So what is MRS? MRS is MUX by MUY. Now when you move from one point, say point A to point B, you are increasing the consumption of good X. So when you increase the consumption of a good, its marginal utility should decline. When you go from A to B, you are decreasing Y. When you decrease Y, its marginal utility should increase. So its numerator is decreasing, denominator is increasing. So the fraction is decreasing. So yes, MRS diminishes because of law of diminishing marginal utility. But ICs are convex due to diminishing MRS. I hope all of you are clear. The two, one leads to another, but you should write this right answer. Okay, come to the next question. So this is pretty easy. What is the slope of the indifference curve? 1. Marginal utility, MRS, both A and C. Okay, so people are answering B, correct. So everyone is correct. The slope of indifference curve is in fact, MRS. So the slope of indifference curve is in fact C, which is MRS. That's correct. Okay. Come to the next question and let's see if you are able to now answer this. So earlier I have asked you about who derived the concept of cardinality, and we now remember for sure that cardinality was given by Marshall. Cardinality. Now I am asking you who derived the concept of ordinality. So now go ahead and answer this. What do you think should be the right answer to this question? Who derived the concept of ordinality? Okay, let's try to go ahead and see it. And it was derived by Higgs and Allen. This has been asked in, I think so, 2000 and maybe 21 or 2022 CUET paper. It came in that exam. Who derived the concept of ordinality? It was, I think it was something like this. Either they asked directly or it was in the match the following, as far as I can remember, where they gave these 4 concepts. They wrote, cardinality, they wrote ordinality, and they gave 2 more. And here they gave Higgs and Allen, and here they gave Marshall, and you had to match. So such questions are very, very common even in CUET, where they will ask you who derived what. Okay. Okay. Come to the next question. What is the condition of total utility when marginal utility is positive? Try to answer this question. What is the condition of total utility when marginal utility is positive? Now, see, this question is actually can have 2 answers, right? If you ask me marginal utility is positive, it means marginal utility should be in the first quadrant. इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं वो diminish नहीं कर सकता, right? It is just saying it is positive. So if I draw my marginal utility like this, right beta, and I draw my total utility like this, so when is marginal utility positive? Marginal utility is positive in this zone. And when marginal utility is positive, I see that total utility is increasing. So what do we see? We see that this is increasing. That means it is correct. When marginal utility is positive, total utility is increasing. Fine. But suppose in exam, they just go ahead and they, instead of just giving you positive, ask you what is the condition of total utility when marginal utility is increasing. Something like this. When marginal utility is increasing. Now, if you visit class 11th and 12th books, the diagram that multiple books draw is something like this. Many books draw like this. They show an increasing phase of total utility in 2 parts. Increasing, see this is convex now. So this part of it, beta, here one, this one. This is when it is increasing at an increasing rate. It's not only increasing, it is increasing at an increasing rate. So the slope is increasing. So marginal utility is like this, it is increasing. Then it is also increasing, but now it is increasing at a decreasing rate. How do I know? Ma'am, it is concave. So increasing या मतलब slope has to be positive values at a decreasing rate. मतलब slope has to decrease, but positive. When this is maximum का क्या मतलब होता है? If you differentiate this, it should give you 0. So marginal utility should be 0, na? Maximum means you differentiate and equate it to 0. So when this is maximum, this is 0, and then when this decreases, this is negative because it is falling. So suppose in exam they could have said you, what is the condition of total utility when marginal utility is increasing, not positive, increasing. Then you should have said it will increase at an increasing rate. Marginal utility positive अगर सिर्फ बोला है, मतलब ये पूरा aspect. So we know that total utility throughout is increasing in this zone. So we can simply say increasing. I hope you are clear with the slope concept. Okay. Okay, so we are done with the questions. I think I have another one. I will just try to cover this up and then we will end the session. Okay, beta. From the given table, calculate how many goods, how many units of good X to buy if price of good X is given to you as 4. Also use the scale that 4 utils is given to you as 1 rupee, and this is represented in terms of marginal utility. Try to do this, just post your answers here. So you are saying that you are given that Px is 4 and it also says that 4 utils together is equivalent to 1 rupee and you are given marginal utility. Try to just solve this question. Try to give me the answer to this question. So the options are 3, 4, 5 or 2. So what you can go ahead and do is, you can just go ahead and check. This is my marginal utility in terms of units. Either I can convert this in terms of rupees and then I can see where it is equal to the price, or I can convert this in terms of marginal utility and I can see where the two are equal, where my marginal utility of money is equal to the marginal utility of the commodity. So either ways you will get the same answer. So let's have a look into it. So we know that the rule that I have is, please put an M here, the rule that I have is MUX by PX. This should be equal to marginal utility of money. MUX by PX should be equal to MUM. So when you have to convert the price side in terms of money utility, you can just use this rule that 1 rupee gives me 4 utils. So how much will 4 rupee give me? 4 rupees will give me 16 utils. Right? Now where exactly am I getting marginal utility exactly equal to 16? Ma'am, here. So what will be my equilibrium quantity? 3 units. So you see, this is such an easy question, but it's just asked in a tricky way and you should be able to solve this. Okay, I'll put one question for homework and we will end the session. So this is a question which you should be trying for your homework. Rishabh consumes 2 commodities, candy and ice cream. The price of candy is given to you as 10. The price of ice cream is given to you as 15. Therefore, the marginal utility derived from candy and ice cream is equal to 8. You have to tell whether he strikes an equilibrium or not. It's a homework question. Try this and I will be coming with more of such sessions in the future. So we will try to do some more series of IGIDR in the coming weeks where we discuss some questions which are very similar to what comes in their exam. Okay, beta, have a